Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and today we are going to build a game in Python. Specifically, we're going to make a game called Number Guessing Game. Basically, you're going to give your user a range between 1 and let's say 100, and you're going to ask them to guess a number, and then they're going to keep guessing until they get the right number. But your program's also going to tell them, hey, your guess was too low or your guess was too high, try again. If you think back to the lesson when we talked about searching algorithms, if your user knows searching algorithms, they'll know that the best way to get through this game with the fewest amount of tries is a binary searching algorithm. So this is going to kind of tie back into stuff that we talked about before. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started building this program. I'm going to click Create. And then I'm going to find Python, and I will call this number game. And I'm going to create my REPL. Okay. All right. We'll let this load here for a second. And this game is actually going to be quite simple. It's not going to be as hard as maybe you're thinking it will be. We're going to use loops, we're going to use if statements, and we're going to use something new that we haven't used before, but it's very, very helpful, especially for randomizing games. First, I'm going to put in my comments, Mr. Storm, and number guessing game. All right. Now let's talk about how we're going to get the we already know how we're going to get the user's guess. We're just going to ask them, hey, what's your guess? But how are we going to get the computer to give us a random number every time? Well, luckily, Python has it's called a module that's already built in. All we have to do is import that module that will allow us to create a random number. So I'm going to import that. And it's just as easy as everything else in Python. You just type import, and then you type the name of the module. So for us, it's random. So we're going to import the random module. I'm not sure why it's highlighted there. Random imported but unused. Okay, don't worry. We're going to use it right now. So the first thing we need to do with a random number is we need to give it a seed. If any of you have ever played a procedural generated game, for example, like Minecraft, you'll have a starting seed, which is basically a number that starts the random sequence. So we need to give it a seed. So we're going to say random.seed. And that's it. Now we've started our random numbers, our random number generator. And then we just need to pluck a number out of there in a certain range. So let's call this comp, shorthand for computer guess, and that's going to be our variable name. We'll say comp equals random dot randint. So a random integer. And in here we can put the range. Notice that that Replit is trying to help me. It says return a random integer within a range. So we're going to put the first number is going to be 1, and the second number will be 100, meaning from 1 to 100 they're going to pull a number out of that sequence. And then we need a couple of other variables. We need a variable that will hold the user guess, and we'll set that equal to 0. And we need a number or a variable that will hold the number of tries that our user has tried, or number guesses that they've used. This is going to allow us to tell them, hey, it only took you 7 tries or 8 tries at the end of the game whenever they win. Okay, cool. So now we've basically created the back end part of this. Now we need to create the front end. We need to create the logic of the game. We need to handle the user interface, allow the user to give their answer. And we need to check the logic to see if it matches up with the random number that the computer has generated for us. The thing is, though, we want to wrap this all inside of a while loop. We want to keep guessing. We want them to keep guessing until they reach a match. So let's use a while loop for that. So we'll say while user does not equal. So that exclamation point equal sign means does not equal. And we'll say while user does not equal comp. Okay, so everything written inside of this loop is going to run until user equals comp. All right, So the first thing we want to do here is we want to increase our tries by 1. We're going to do that right at the top here because we want this to be officially our first try. If they get it on their first try, we want it to say, hey, it took you 1 try. We wouldn't want it to say 0 tries, right? So we'll say tries equals tries plus 1. All right, now that that's handled, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and grab our user's guess. So we'll say user equals int. This has to be an integer because it's going to be a number compared to another number. And let's say input. Why do I have so many? I have an extra set of parentheses here that I don't need. Okay. Give me a number between 1 and 100. Now you can make your number set larger. You can do 1,000, whatever, 1,000,000. I don't care. It's going to be less fun for your person the higher the number gets, because they're just guessing 1 at a time. But you can do 1,000 here. Just remember to change this as well. Change your range in your random so that it matches the number you're asking them to give you. All right, so now we've stored the user's guess, we have the computer's guess, and now we need to start comparing them. So the first obvious comparison we should make is if user equals comp. It's pretty easy. If they get the guess right away, we need to check to see if they have matched the computer, and we need to tell them, hey, you won the game. You guessed correctly. Great job. And I'll put another print statement down here. Print. This is going to be a formatted print statement. It only took you tries. So basically saying, hey, it only took you 5 tries or 6 tries or whatever. All right. Now, let's say they don't get it, right? Well, now we need to check to see if their guess is bigger than the number that the computer chose. So we can use an elif for this or an else if. Elif is just shorthand. Elif user is greater than comp. Then we're going to print your guess is too high. Try again. All right. And then the final thing we need to check for here is basically any other condition, right? So think about the logic here. If they guessed it right on, then we handled that with our if. If their number is too high, then we've handled that with the elif. The only other possibility would be that the guess is too low. That's literally the only possibility, right? So we're going to just say else because we don't need to check for anything because we know at this point, we know that guess is too low. So we'll say print your guess is too low. Print try again. And believe it or not, excuse me, sorry. Believe it or not, that's actually that's the whole thing. That's our entire game. And this will work every single time. It'll give us a random number. We'll be able to guess. We, the programmers, won't even know what the number is. So it makes it kind of fun for us to play too. Let me give it a shot and make sure it all runs. Hit run. Give me a number between 1 and 10. Using the binary search algorithm, I know the halfway point is going to be 50. So I'll hit enter. My guess is too high. So I'll go to the next halfway point, 25. Your guess is too low. So it's in between 25 and 50. We'll say 36. Guess is too high. So between 25 and 36, let's give it 30. Too high. So between 25 and 30, 27. Too low. 28. Hey, it only took me 6 tries. So I guessed correctly, and it only took me 6 tries. That's the entire game. right? You can see here we have conditions where it says too high, we have conditions where it says too low, and then whenever I got the number, it actually worked. I'm going to play it one more time just so I can prove to you that it's generating a random number and I didn't secretly put 28 in there somewhere. So 50, guess is too high. 25, guess is too low. 36, too low. So notice now we have a different thing. I was getting kind of nervous because it was the same for the first two. 36 is too low. So I need to go 36 to 50. We'll say 42, too high. Let's say 39. All right. So this time the number was 39 instead of 28. And it only took me 5 tries. So I did it a little bit faster that time. But anyway, that's the game. That's the entire game. So go ahead and finish this up. Make sure you get this turned in on time. And I will see you next time.